Hey everybody, Chris again. Figured I'd do another little quick update Kirblog. It's been a bit. I just got back from my first physical therapy session yesterday. The last few weeks I've been continuing to try and take care of myself as much as possible while my arms are healing. As you can see, I'm off the splints. Still been wearing them a lot throughout the day, but I've definitely been able to tell the difference. Doing a lot of exercises, doing whatever I can to, make sure my body doesn't shut down on me. I've been trying to also keep productive on the game as much as possible. I know I gave them a shout out on Twitter, but a huge thanks to Adam Tilford and Jerem, JT Beyond, both who have been on a few Kirblogs before, for helping me the last several weeks now with testing the game while I, am trying to preserve my wrists as much as possible. So it's been quite a trying period this month, and it kind of flew by quicker than I thought. But while I've been trying to keep as productive as possible, I've also been watching a lot of stuff, and so I figured, instead of doing like little quick individual blogs about, all the shows and movies I've been watching, I figured, I'll just do a little general like, here's what I've been up to lately. Here's the stuff that I'm watching while I'm letting my body heal and trying to make things better for myself as much as possible. Funnily enough, I watched two movies and two series, and two of them of which are from a few years back, and the other two of which are like very recent, which is just kind of happened to work out that way. So I'll just talk about some of the stuff that I've been the media that I've been consuming, as it were, and throughout July. The first is a beautiful little film called The Book of Life, which was produced by Guillermo del Toro and animation directed by the creator of El Tigre. And this is a movie that I feel really bad about this. I wanted to go see it in theaters when it was first coming out. And I had a few folks I was going to go see it with. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it just didn't work out. We didn't end up going. So I sadly missed out on it when it was in theaters, and wish I had gone to support it because it's a fantastic movie. I know there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but I know that there's a level of controversy about with Coco as well, and if there were some borrowed ideas and et cetera, because obviously they're both animated movies about Day of the Dead and Mexican lore and stuff. And I do enjoy Coco a lot, but I gotta say, I really. Something about the vision of this film, in particular, just like it felt very unorthodox. It felt very not quite like most other North American produced animated films that I've seen. There's a lot of them that I skip out on. There's a lot of the generic sort of the dime a dozen CG talking animals. Like I've never really seen any of the Madagascars or a lot of that stuff. I'm a little more selective, and honestly, even I don't even go to see absolutely every single Pixar or Disney movie if I'm not feeling up for it. So that's why I say I feel really bad because I slept on this movie, and I think it's fantastic. I think it has such a vision to it, and I do also like Coco as well. I think Coco turned out very well, but the visual style, like the art design, the character design. Like just the style of this movie and the fun of like the characters and everything was just such a good ride. Like I think I'm trying to remember. I think the creator is I think his name is George Gutierrez. Because I sadly also I didn't see much of El Tigre. I think it was Nickelodeon, right? And I more saw because I know these two were kind of always neck and neck with each other. I caught more of Mucha Lucha because that was on Saturday mornings for Kids WB, and I know that was just one of those shows of like, this is on while I'm waiting for Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh to come on. Sure, why not? And El Tigre I know was the one that a lot of folks really love and adore for a long time. But yeah, this movie was there were a couple little minor things. I know some people. And even I agree, like Channing Tatum kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in terms of like the rest of the cast, mixed in there. I was very happy actually about Tom Kenny and Grey Delisle, not Tom Kenny, excuse me, Jesus Christ, Carlos Alazraqui, for good lord, Spyro. That's what screwed me up. They're not interchangeable. Good lord. Carlos Alazraqui and Greg Delisle, or Greg Griffin rather, having like named like characters of importance in the movie was actually very gratifying to see that, because I feel seeing voice actors get that kind of recognition is very nice. And all the actors did. Zoe Saldana was great. Donnie Trejo is fantastic. I figured he'd be in there. Ron Perlman, a lot of those guys. Such a fun ride. Like the world itself was like a lot of fun. That was something that I'm glad, like, even though it was probably a little too late, that I got to experience that. And honestly, it makes me kind of want to check out El Tigre. I know that was also one of many shows that back then that got I think canceled before it was able to progress a little bit more with some of the story stuff. I remember hearing something about that. So that was a great ride. The only other little thing that was a little weird to me was like the usage of some of the jukebox. I guess it wasn't really a jukebox musical, but just having some of those random songs tossed in there. The original ones, like the one he sings to the bull in one of the final scenes when they're in the afterlife world, the world of the forgotten. That song, like, that was very pretty. That was very moving. But like having like Creep and like I Will Wait for You in there, I'm just like, okay, So that was a little distracting. But honestly, other than that, like the whole entire thing was like just awesome. Like the fight, the big fight with the bad guy as well, with his like smithy ass, like, mechanical chain body and everything. Like the choreography of that was gorgeous. Like the big crowd scenes of all the bandit guys and everything. Like that was such a trip. So love that. I hope that that creator gets to do more cool stuff just like that in the future. And obviously, Del Toro is fantastic as well. So that was great. I also watched Toradora, which is funny because I guess the show really now it's over a decade old. I think it was 2008 or 9, I think. And then the dub wasn't until like mid 2010s, I forget, because I remember it was early on for some of the actors that were in it. I know that was like an early like leading role for like Eric Kimmerer and I think Erica Harlicker. That was like an early going thing for her as well. And I think Cassandra Morris might have like just moved to LA like around that time. Like I can't quite place the exact time frame of that, but I this is a show that I knew a lot of people were a huge fan of, and it had been quite some time since I'd seen a new show like this that was like I guess this is considered slice of life. Yeah, I guess it would be the genre of just like kids going to school and just life stuff happening, and I didn't quite know what like the hook of this one was, but and then realizing very quickly just from that first episode that it's all about Ryuji and Taiga and their relationship, and like the almost kind of like will they won't they sort of thing, but it's like this really it played a lot with my expectations. Like I kept like trying to okay, and then this is gonna happen, and then this girl's gonna do this, and then this misunderstanding's gonna happen. It's like no, not even. It was it really was like it felt pretty real, like all things considered. It was and it was just it felt different in terms of like what they tried to go for with how the different interpersonal relationships went between the two leads, and then the love interest, the love interest of the boy, the love interest of the girl, and then also the other girl who's like kind of the wild card, like mixed in between. Like those five in particular and how they kind of played with those dynamics was very fascinating. The only one that was kind of like to me in terms of those main characters was and I can't even remember what his name. I think his nickname was Maruo. The guy with the glasses that Johnny Young Bosch played. Johnny did a great job on the voiceover, of course, but just the character himself was kind of just like very plain. I don't know, because even like I was kind of expecting, the red-haired girl, whose name is escaping me right now, but Christine Cabanos played her. I was kind of expecting her to be maybe a little more like plain generic, but the fact that she was like funny and weird and like kind of goofy in character, and she was like doing references, I lost my mind. She made like some Yu-Gi-Oh reference of like reverse card open, and which made Ryuji liking her like much more of like oh yeah, of course, like because she's so like she's adorable. I love her. It was funny because I could tell that like I think this was right before Kill la Kill, if I think if I'm remembering correctly, and I could tell that like that character was like the training for like Christine to be Mako in Kill la Kill. Shortly after that, she was so funny. But yeah, but the other guy, Maruo, was just he just felt very bland, and even like Ami, the model, the kind of like two-faced, sort of, she was a little more complicated. Like I went in expecting her to be also kind of like not plain, but just very like predictable, and she ended up actually also being very fascinating as a character too, and I liked her a lot. And even there was a part of me that was like, is she gonna make a move? Like I'm almost kind of half rooting for her also, even though like I want Ryuji and Taiga to be together. And it's funny because the whole, it's 24 or 25 episodes, and the whole time I'm like, when are they gonna get together? When are they gonna make out already? And just the way they paced it out, and the way that they played with the expectations of how that relationship went for the whole thing. It was it was pretty trippy. So that was the good one, and I know that's kind of a favorite of a lot of folks. It was that was a fun ride as well. Really got to me by those last couple episodes in particular. And also, one other thing, surprisingly, like, very, very good animation for a show like this. I'm not used to, like, I'm remembering even there was a scene that I remember seeing, like a Sakuga gif on some Twitter of Taiga, and I think it was like the school council president girl with like the kind of dark blue hair who moves away. Like that fight scene between the two of them, just like knocking down like school chairs and stuff. I remember that in particular. I was like, whoa, this is from that show, and I thought that might have been just that once. And that scene in particular was a big highlight. But like, what I was shocked by just like how overall appealing the animation and the art style of the show was, like, very consistently. Like I'm not used to those kind of shows having like particularly big budgets and like very stunning animation or anything, but yeah, that was a very pleasant surprise. I loved the look of that show. And then moving on, another recent one, of course, in terms of another series, was the second season of Beastars, which I was very much looking forward to. It was a little later. I was able to dodge the spoilers for anything. I know that I saw rumblings of other characters. I knew about Pina the Ram. I knew there was a new lion character that had like some level of significance. Although I guess that turned out to be, I think was it Inari, the glasses wearing lion guy that became Louis' assistant when he took over the Shishigumi. And I think there was one other character. Oh, I knew that there was a new deer girl that turned out to be Cosmo. A small role as she ended up being. This season, the ride of it was very cool. Also, not what I was expecting at all. I was really expecting most of it to be taking place, and a good majority of it did still take place like within the school, but I didn't expect so much of it to be kind of in like the black market sort of underworld type of thing. Louis becoming a friggin' mob boss. Legacy with the haircut and everything, and wanting to learn how to fight, and kind of like becoming this like almost pseudo detective and everything. Very intriguing. I should mention, of course, I'm going into spoiler territory. If you haven't seen this stuff already, that's on you, of course. But the antagonist, I'll say, because I don't even want to say that they're a villain necessarily. The antagonist of this arc, very, very compelling. I don't remember if I even noticed Riz in the background of the first season. Like I'm sure I'll go back. This will be a show that I know I'll go back and rewatch again at some point because I thought it was amazing. I do think I liked the first season, like the excitement of that first season, a little bit more than the second one. But the twists and turns of the second one really, really caught me off guard, and Yeah, and probably the most fascinating part was actually the story of Riz, and how it tied in with the sheep guy that he ended up devouring. His name is escaping me, but yeah, that like whole kind of sub story and like how that tied in with everything else, and then that character's relationship with all the others and everything, and why they had this vendetta, and like Riz's sort of like daily life and seeing like how that stuff was affecting him and everything. Like, I was not expecting any like even more so than like, you know, the involvement with the black market and everything, and like Louis' whole story and his relationship with his dad and like all the stuff Legacy was doing. I was kind of bummed at the lack of actually just the female characters in general. Excuse me. I liked Six Eyes. Six Eyes was a very interesting visual character. Pardon me. And Cosmo was cool, but was really only in like 1.5 episodes. And I felt like Haru and Juno's roles were pretty limited in this season. That was kind of a shame. I was kind of hoping there'd be a little more. And the fact that even just like, you know what? Okay, that was the biggest disappointment, was the Haruho Legacy stuff, because I was loving. I mean, that was the big highlight for me in the first season, was like that relationship between the two of them, and the fact that it seemed very like limited and kind of muted in this one, and then the fact that she just kind of biz casually is like, "I love you," by the way, and I'm like, "What? All right," you know. And then that combined with, I'm glad that they ended on the two of them, you know, hanging out together, and, you know, her kind of being a tease and stuff, and, you know, etc. So I guess it's kind of biz casual for them, but it was also like kind of a fleeting, bit of an underwhelming ending to the season. I guess maybe on the pretense of, because I believe they just announced like a couple days before I'm doing this that they're doing another season, which is great. I'm very happy about that, because I want more. But yeah, the ending was a little underwhelming. Like the very last scene, it was just like, oh, I guess it's over now. All right, whatever. But the last episode itself was like fantastic. I realized like what they were, and this kind of goes to show my idiocy. I thought that pardon me, the ending animation, like the ending credits song sequence, like the really sketchy animation, was Louis and the former Shishigumi boss in a car together, and I realized, oh no, it's the last episode where he and Inari are in a car together, and it's right before he has to kill Inari, unfortunately, and then Free shows up and, you know, has that whole, you know, kind of last exchange, and so that was actually kind of a cool tie-in. I thought that was pretty bold that they kind of had that scene sort of mixed in there as kind of a tease for like what was coming, because I didn't even fully get it, and then I realized, oh, that's what they were doing. Oh my gosh, you know, and then the final showdown as well, like that last fight scene between Legacy and Riz, and then how Louis ties in with that, and like sacrificing his leg. There's part of me that kind of wishes they went a little bit more into Louis' backstory, in terms of like, you know, where he came from and like why he was an experiment, and you know, how the dad tied in with that and everything, because we only got very little hints of that, and I wish that like, because I loved the symbolism of Legacy just eating the leg, and like, you know, ridding him of that part of his body that he hated, that, you know, that was it felt like a curse on him or whatever. I loved that as a device. I wish that they built up the attachment of that a little bit more, beyond the little bits that we just saw, and maybe we'll get more in the future. I don't know. I have not been reading ahead in the manga, so I don't know, you know, other things that happen in the future. But overall, it was cool. But there were some things that I hope we'll get some more info about in the third season, and I know the manga is also continuing as well. So yeah, and then the second of the movies that I watched, this was the other very recent thing, is I watched Space Jam: A New Legacy. I loved it. I know that the internet is like kind of taking a giant dump on it right now. I grew up with the original movie, and you know, I love the original Space Jam. I haven't watched it in a very, very, very long time, but you know, I was very, very into it, because I grew up with the original Looney Tunes, you know, since I was like, you know, 2 or 3 years old, like very, very young. I've been obsessed with Looney Tunes. And Space Jam was just like, I was there when it was, in theaters, back in the '90s, and I collected. I was funny. I was just having an exchange with Aaron Long on Twitter like the other day about he posted like, pound not Bupkis Blanco, pound Bupkis Blanco not, and oh god, uh, I forgot the last of the Monstars. Well, I guess I wasn't as hardcore of a fan as I thought I was. I'm the worst. Wow, good job, Chris. But we were having an exchange about how he loved the Monstars, and slash the Nerdlux and all that, and so I loved those characters. I had toys of them and everything. I wasn't too asked about them. Well, they were in the movie, so and I guess they're also in that little Teen Titans Go commentary special thing. Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know too much. I knew about as much about LeBron James as I did of Michael Jordan back in the original one. But I really enjoyed the story of this one, honestly. The arc that they built with LeBron and his actor stand-in family members to play his kids and his wife and everything. And the dynamic with the son and the son wanting to make video games and everything. It is funny now that I make video games and now I understand how this part where he's making video games doesn't quite work, but it's whatever. It doesn't. It's fine. It's it still served the purpose of the story very well. I know people are also like, oh, it's just all about Warner Brothers showing you how many properties they have, and it's yeah. So what? It's fun. It's entertaining. I loved all the little cameos. I loved my favorite part absolutely was the sequence where they go to all the other movies and Warner Brothers properties and they have to get all the Looney Tunes back together. And it's look, once in a while when you have stuff like this, it's just fun. It's just fun, man. To me, it's no different than the excitement of playing a Kingdom Hearts game and going to all the Disney levels, or any big Disney crossover thing that they've done, over the years, even Kingdom Hearts aside, or it's not in Universal anymore, but there was that old ride that was all the Hanna-Barbera characters together, Wacky Races, that's what that is, more or less. Or Cartoon Network, the Cartoon Network ads where they have all the characters together, or any of the video games where they have all those IPs. It's just a fun time. So, yes, obviously it's we're Warner Brothers and Turner, and we have a billion movies and TV shows and other things that are probably bigger and more successful than the Looney Tunes are in the year 2020. Whatever. That's not a point against the movie. It just added to the spectacle and the fun and the ridiculousness of it. So I know that's the big sticking point that I've been seeing the most with people, at least from what I've seen. I haven't watched the 7-year-long video essays that people are doing bitching about how here's why Space Jam and New Legacy is the fucking worst thing ever. Blah, blah, blah. Like and subscribe. It's whatever. Sorry if that's what your living is. If you see this, I don't. Whatever. I had a great time with it. The basketball, the kind of, or sorry, I should say the dom ball game at the end was, I think, lent itself even more so to beyond because as much as I enjoy the same thing, the spectacle and the fun and the ridiculousness and the kind of randomness of the original Space Jam, this one I think is superior as a film. It has so much more structure to it. The payoffs and the themes that they were going with of living up to somebody's image and you being in their shadow and letting the next generation decide what they want to do for themselves and not putting that pressure on them. And how they tied that in with the Looney Tunes and them doing themselves, wanting to do what they like doing. And it's this isn't basketball. This isn't, our lives are not your lives. It's not your life and etc. I liked how they tied all that together. And I think, if anything, I would say my only real, I don't even want to say critique, because Don Cheadle is, he's fantastic. He's a ton of fun. I think just Algae Rhythm was not that interesting of a villain to me, and it didn't bring the movie down too much because he still ultimately served the purpose of that he was supposed to serve, in terms of just moving things along with the plot and everything, but I guess just he was semi underwhelming for me. He was certainly charismatic and he worked okay, and also I did also really like thematically what they did with the equivalent of the Monstars, the Goon Squad characters, based on, and I guess voiced by the more contemporary famous basketball players that they were basing them off of and everything. Thematically, they were a little more interesting, like the different powers that they gave them and stuff. I thought that was really cool. They were a little creepy looking, but I think that was on purpose. It seemed like, and the biggest thing, I mean, the animation, without a doubt. I mean, the CG stuff, pretty much with the exception of, and I'll be this specific. The CG stuff all looked amazing. The only thing that was really unsettling to me was Lola's mouth. Not even Lola's entire, like her actual model and her movement and everything was great. Just her mouth, like that shape, it doesn't work in CG. It just looks so freakish. Somehow they pulled it off with Bugs fine. Because it was funny when the scene where they were picking her up from the Wonder Woman world and everything, and seeing that animation, because I was glad that she was a little more. She still felt in line with the way that she was in the original movie, in terms of like, she was like pretty, sarcastic and serious and like etc. But like she had some comedic range and could be be a little bit more character and things. And particularly I felt like when like Babs in Tiny Toons, who of course was like very wacky and over the top and everything, when she would be more kind of annoyed and sarcastic, like in witty in that sense, I felt that was how, in the way that Lola was animated. So in that stuff, and she'd have like the crazy mouth shapes and everything, because it's that like and then the little like circle for like the part of the mouth, like this part of the mouth with the teeth, and then like the two lines to the sides. Like in 2D, it's like it's a little weird looking. It's a little weird looking in CG, and with Lola in particular, it's like every time she'd be on screen and she'd be like talking or saying anything, I'm like, oh, stop. God, it's weird. It just looks weird to me. It was like very distracting. But in 2D, it was like just all of them looked great. And then I was very happy that LeBron looked what they made him in 2D when he goes into the Looney Tunes world and everything. That I think was great. Much more sensible decision to do that. And yeah, just and what they did with Bugs too throughout. And you know what? And I'll say also, again, spoilers. My only real issue is I felt that the ending was kind of lame. Like the very, very ending. I did love that the surprise was, hey, I'm sending you, instead of basketball camp, I'm sending you to the E3 game dev camp, which, by the way, that's awesome. And kids out there that want to make video games, I don't know what that's like, but go do that, because that sounds amazing. Good Lord. I loved that. That was a very satisfying conclusion to the arc with LeBron and Dom. But after like Bugs' sort of noble sacrifice, which I liked that too. It was like getting me emotional, and then he's just like, I'm just back. Oh, and I guess the others are here. Let's go find them. And I'm like, that really? That's it? It's like, oh, all right. So that was a little underwhelming, but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of perplexed. Again, I haven't watched much of the like scathing reviews or whatever of it, but I thought it was a great time. I don't know why people are so up in arms about this movie in particular, but yeah. So that's all the stuff that I've been watching in the meantime. I saw that the new He-Man series just came out, the Masters of the Universe Revolution, I think it's called. I do want to check that out at some point. I actually just found out that the third season of a show that I was in, it was an Italian live action. Actually, I'll even say this because I don't think I've plugged this much before. I do a lot of live action dubbing voice work for like different TV shows, like stuff that's been on like Netflix and various things. And I did this show called Subura, Subura. It's based on a book. It's like this Italian like murder mystery kind of drama. Excuse me, about like mobsters, like or not mobsters, just like different like drug cartels and things like that. And it was really fascinating. And I worked on that show, the first two seasons of it, and my character did not survive the third season, which I didn't even know was a thing until like yesterday. And I just started watching that. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a great show. And Jason Liebrecht, who does lots of awesome anime stuff, and he's in Street Fighter, he plays the main character. I was one of the other leads in the first two seasons, and Yeah, very fascinating show. Really, it's the one live action dub thing that I've worked on that I've watched like all the way through because I thought it was fantastic. So I was into that, and yeah, I might watch that. Might watch He-Man soon. A couple other things here and there, but otherwise, I'm spending a lot of time on just trying to do as much work as I can with the game. I have a lot that I got to do. We're still aiming for fall, obviously, and Nathan and I are working throughout the weekend on fixing various things. We just massively overhauled the keyboard controls of the Tome game so that they'll be infinitely easier to use. And we've got, what else? We're fixing some display stuff for some of the other languages that we're including because we have to make some adjustments on a couple of those things. And yeah, so that's what I'm up to this weekend. But yeah, just wanted to toss out a quick little Kirblog just to kind of check in with folks. Next week I have another physical therapy session, and I have a blood test. Like I said, I hope that's not going to be anything too catastrophic. I'll probably check in again on like, here's how I'm doing health wise, and go from there. So cross your fingers for me that it's nothing too crazy. And yeah, I just got to keep on going. I have a lot of work to do for my health. I have a lot of work to do for the game, and I have a lot of work to do with life. So wish me luck. Thanks for tuning in if you watched all this, and let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas of like other videos that I could do in the meantime, things that don't involve me using my hands too much, that I can try to put out. I'd love to do like tier lists or more like reaction things or whatever. Would be fun. I would love to get back to drawing and playing games. I really wanted to play the rest of the Shovel Knight games, the other Shovel Knight campaigns this month, but I gotta preserve my strength because it is what it is. So. But that'll do it. So thanks a bunch, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.